Hello book lovers, and welcome back or welcome to Nat Cat's Bookish Cafe, and welcome to part 2 of my Italy vlog. So as I mentioned at the beginning of the first vlog, I wasn't sure if I was going to do one part or 2 parts to this vlog, and obviously I have decided to do a second part because that first part was really long. So I am here many weeks later after these clips were initially filmed. In fact, it is the end of August right now. And I am here to introduce you to the second part of the vlog. So essentially where the previous vlog left off, we were leaving the Chianti Tuscany region and we were gonna head off to Venice. So where this vlog starts, we are at the train station in Florence and we have a 2-hour train ride to Venice. So this part of the vlog is all going to take place in Venice, and then we will finish this vlog off with me getting home and doing a wrap up for the books that I read, as well as showing you some of the souvenirs that I picked up. So I'm going to start editing this vlog today, hence why I am finally sitting down to actually film this. Fingers crossed it is not over 2 hours long like the other one is. I would be surprised if that was the case. I took a lot of beautiful videos in Venice, but we were also only there for about 2 days. So this should be a shorter vlog, but I hope you guys still enjoy it. I had a wonderful time in Venice, but we were also reaching the point in the trip where we were all just a little bit tired. But that being said, enjoy the beautiful views of this vlog, and let's jump back to about a month ago.
I don't wanna call you later. You're tearing my heart up like it's paper, and somehow you turn to a stranger. We used to work, now I'm trying to make sure that we're both on the same page. I don't want it to complicate. I know you're riding away. Is there room for us both on the same wave? Nothing breaks so clearly when there's love on the line. My best friend told me someone that I don't even like. There's nothing left to fix if you don't want me to try. Oh, why would I, when you were barely even mine? Oh, why would I?
I should've known from the start that you were a waste of an open bar towel, wiping my feet on the doormat. But there's so much of you that I just can't leave. Yeah, nothing breaks so cleanly when there's love on the line. My best friend told me someone that I don't even like. There's nothing left to fix if you don't want me to try. Oh, why would I, when you were barely even mine? Oh, why would I? You're out there riding away, but is there room on the wave? Don't want a second thought, babe, I'll stay in mine. I'm all the give, you're the take. There ain't no fixing the break. Nothing left I could say. Ha, ha, ha. Nothing breaks so clearly when there's love on the line. My best friend told me someone that I don't even like. There's nothing left to fix if you don't want me to try. Oh, why would I, when you were barely even mine? Oh, why would I?
Hello everyone. Hopefully the cicadas are not too loud, but I wanted to go ahead and film outside because our current residence isn't, I mean, it's not bad or anything, but it's not like super nice. I just broke my necklace. I guess that's what I get for only spending $8 on a necklace. It breaks very easily and my neck is all sweaty. Okay, well, I'll just see if there's like a way to fix this, but I don't think so, because if you kind of look, it's not like there's a hook there. It's not the hook. It's not, oh my god, it's not this little part that broke, it's like what connected the chain. So, well, that just happened. I guess I'll just be sitting here with nothing, no beautiful necklace on my neck. But anyway, what was I saying? Our current residence is mostly just somewhere for us to sleep, and so I thought I'd have the old buildings in the back, but of course it is like peak time of the day and the cicadas are going crazy. But that being said, we are in Venice now. I'm sure you have seen a ton of clips from Venice, you know, the water taxis. Well, they're not water taxis, they're like the public transportation of Venice. So they're like, oh, they just got a little quieter. They're like, they have a name that starts with V. I already told you I'm not good with Italian, but that being said, these are like the water buses of Venice. If you are someone who gets motion sickness or like seasickness, Venice is probably not the place to go, because that is the primary form of transportation around here. So that being said, obviously going on those, you see tons of beautiful buildings. And then since then, we've been walking around a little bit, mostly in the area that we are. I'm not really sure specifically where in Venice we are, if I'm being totally honest. We are near one of their big plazas, and when I say near, I mean like a 20-minute walk away from it, that has like the palace that I took a picture or that I took a video of, and that beautiful cathedral and all that jazz, and the place with like all the windows, you know, the place that I wrote down 3 names that I wanted to say and not forget, and I didn't even think to look up that place. Let me do it now, actually. Piazza St. Marco. There we go. That is the name of it. It's near the Doge Palace, which is spelled like Doge, you know, Elon Musk's hooligans. But that is kind of near where we are. If you're like looking at that and then you travel right. Anyway, you're not in Venice, you don't care where I am specifically, but today we mostly kind of walked around this area, checked out that piazza, and then me and my mom went over to let me look it up, Giorgio. It's just like Giorgio. It is like a really small island that has like a little church on it that has a tower that our host said that you can go, and you can go up the tower for free, and it gives you a really good view. There's another tower at the piazza, but that one costs money to go up, and I have already paid money to huff and puff my way up a tower. I'm not doing that again. Okay, I'm no Prince Charming. I'm not built to be going up all these towers and stuff, but unfortunately it was closed. I couldn't really figure out if it was closed because it was getting repairs. That kind of seemed like what was going on, so unfortunately we kind of went over there for nothing, but at the same time it kind of gave us the opportunity to look out at the Venice coastline from one of the little islands. Talking about islands, tomorrow, or actually not talking about islands, because tonight we are going to a concert, some sort of symphony situation. A very famous guy who I should know, Vivaldi. Okay, guys, we're going to see, obviously not Vivaldi because he's dead and gone, but we're gonna go ahead and see his work tonight, and that starts at 8. And so we're just resting a little bit now, and then we're gonna go ahead and head out and have probably a small dinner because we had a late lunch, and go ahead and see that. And then tomorrow we are hoping to go to 2 islands. We ended up getting the boat tickets, like the bus boat, for 48 hours. That way we don't have to like buy tickets every time. And we're gonna start with Murano Island, which is where they make all of their Venetian glass. So I do need to go ahead and buy us some tickets to go and get a tour of that, and maybe some demonstrations. On their website it said it was only like €5 per person, so it's relatively cheap. And the Venetian glass is probably what I'm most interested in seeing here in Venice. I definitely want to go ahead and buy myself some of that because it is very beautiful. I've seen it all over the place, but obviously some of them are probably knockoffs, so I want to go ahead and make sure that I'm buying it at the source. And then after that, we want to go to Burano, which is where all the Venetian lace is made. So I might get some lace. I'm not like a huge, I mean, I've seen a lot of people wearing it and it's really beautiful, so I might get myself some. We'll see how I'm feeling, but I'm excited to go ahead and check out those two islands, especially since they have to do a lot with some of the well-known crafts that they do in this area. But that being said, that is kind of what we're doing. And then of course the day after that, we are going to go ahead and be traveling, which is going to honestly be hell. I don't know how else to put it. Essentially, our flight, I think, leaves at 6 something, which means that we have to find a way off of this island at like 4 o'clock in the morning, which is quite difficult to do. But I do think we are going to get a water taxi. Water taxis are obviously more expensive because it's not like public transportation. But at 4 o'clock in the morning, that's kind of what we got to do. And then we'll be flying back to Frankfurt. I think we have, once again, another 3-4 hour layover there. And then we're flying back to Seattle. And with this flight, unlike the flight that we took here, it would be beneficial for us not to sleep on it because we will be arriving late in the evening. So it is gonna be a long day. Not looking forward to that at all. But let's talk a little bit about reading, because I have gone ahead and started The Whim of Gods. I didn't end up reading the day that I last checked in with you. I was like, I'm gonna go read now, guys, so check in with you later. And then I went and watched some YouTube videos instead. But yesterday on the train, I did go ahead and start this book, and I am about 113 pages in. I think I'm almost 70% through the book. Like I said, this book is just under 200 pages. I am enjoying it. I'm not loving it, I have to admit. I think because it is a relatively short story, there are a lot of aspects of it that feel relatively rushed. I feel like this is definitely an interesting world that we're in. We are essentially in a world where all the gods and beasts of legend, we're talking about like the Kraken and the gods of the wind and fire and snakes with wings and all this kind of jazz, were real at one point, and it was thousands of years ago, and that's how they made their way into our legends. And then they went dormant and humanity forgot that they actually existed until one day they all started to wake up. And this is all taking place, I want to say, about 25 or so years after what is called the rise of those old gods and monsters. And obviously humanity has suffered greatly. It's very much a post-apocalyptic setting, and we are following Helios, and he has found himself captured by slavers. And it seems that a lot of people are being captured by these slavers to be brought to a specific location, which seems to be run by a group that we don't know a lot about, but they seem kind of weird, and it seems like they have a specific interest in blonde men, and Helios is a blonde man. And that tip, that like specific little sprinkle of information, has me thinking I might know where the story is going, but I don't know yet, so I'm just pointing that out. But that being said, he ends up getting rescued along with the rest of the slavers by this guy known as he goes by Griffin, but he is also known as the Devil of the Wastes because he is a mutant. Humanity, lo and behold, in an attempt to fight the gods, created mutants by mixing DNA of these monsters and gods with humans. For the most part, it didn't really work out that well. A lot of them turned out to be not like straight up evil, but some of them are, and some of them are just, you know, they're gods. They're part god. They can't handle like little human behaviors and things like that. So they kind of gave up on that task, but there are still like a few hundred mutants running around, and Griffin is one of them, and he is traveling in this beetle that is featured on the cover of this book, and it is run by an AI known as Beat, short for Beetle. And Helios finds himself like really happy to be in this situation. One, the beetle's really comfortable and he feels very safe there, and two, he's starting to have some feelings for Griffin, so he is trying to convince them to let him stay. And along the way, of course, his feelings for Griffin grow, and Griffin starts to develop feelings for him as well. So it has been a rather slow moving story. I feel like it is kind of this combination of domestic and post-apocalyptic. Plot-wise, I definitely wouldn't call it fast-paced or anything like that. I do enjoy both of the characters. I do wish the world was a little bit more fleshed out, just because it does seem like an interesting world for sure. I'm definitely sorry, I have like a ton of mosquito bites on my legs, so I'm just itching away. To be honest, I've been eaten alive just like I was in South Carolina. I need to stop traveling to like warm climates where the mosquitoes hang out. But that being said, it definitely has Howl's Moving Castle vibes. You can definitely tell that the author had pretty good inspiration from that. I would also say it has a little bit of a Beauty and the Beast element to it, because both of them are avid readers. So there's kind of that a monster beast presenting a collection of books to a human kind of aspect to it. So there are some Beauty and the Beast, Howl's Moving Castle vibes in this. So I am having a good time. I'm definitely not loving it as much as I was hoping. With everything, with all the elements that were presented, I kind of thought this was a potential 5-star, and I don't think it's gonna be a 5-star. I do have almost 50% of the book left, so there's still a lot that could happen now that our characters' like relationship has kind of been developed and everything. Maybe now that the author has kind of built the characters and done a little bit of world building and developed the romance, they might go ahead and focus a little bit more on like plot. Because the slave trade is a pretty big part of the plot, not just because that's where Helios started, but because Griffin spends his day tracking down the slavers and freeing as many slaves as he can. It still seems like there are some things in Griffin's past that we don't know about. He seems to be the last mutant that was created before the program was shut down. He definitely seems like he's very different than the other mutants. And then on top of that, there's some stuff from Helios' past that we know about that he hasn't shared with Griffin yet. So there's still aspects of the story that could really cause things to like ramp up a little bit. So I am optimistic for the second half of the story. Right now, it's sitting at kind of like a high 3.5, low 4-star, but I am more optimistic that it'll be pushed to a 4-star than I am worried about it being pushed to a lower rating. But that being said, that is my update for now. I will probably check in with you once I get home. I mean, not like right when I get home. Right when I get home, I'm probably gonna shower and go to bed in my bed after giving my cats like 10,000 kisses and giving my dad a hug, of course. But probably the following day, I will go ahead and wrap up this vlog. I still have no idea how much footage I have, so I'm not sure if this is the second vlog, if this is the first vlog. Who knows? Not me. Future Natalie will figure that out. but I'm gonna go ahead and head inside where the AC is and relax a little bit before I get ready for tonight's event. So I will go ahead and talk to you guys later.
I don't wanna call you later. You're tearing my heart up like it's paper, and somehow you turn to a stranger. We used to work, now I'm trying to make sure that we're both on the same page. I don't want it to complicate. I know you're riding away. Is there room for us both on the same wave? Nothing breaks that clearly when there's love on the line. My best friend told me someone that I don't even like. There's nothing left to fix if you don't want me to try. Oh, why would I, when you were barely even mine? Oh, why would I?
I should've known from the start that you were a waste of an open bar towel, wiping my feet on the doormat. There's so much of you that I just can't leave. Yeah, nothing breaks that clearly when there's love on the line. My best friend told me someone that I don't even like. There's nothing left to fix if you don't want me to try. Oh, why would I, when you were barely even mine? Oh, why would You're out there riding away, but is there room on the wave? Don't want a second thought, babe, I'll stay in mine. I'm all the give, you're the take. There ain't no fixing the break. Nothing left I could say. Ha, ha, ha. Nothing breaks that clearly when there's love on the line. My best friend told me someone that I don't even like. There's nothing left to fix if you don't want me to try. Oh, why would I, when you were barely even mine? Oh, why would But your parents came in the cul-de-sac, leaned back in a leather-clad seat, pack of spirits in your Prada bag. Suburban summer 17 was a roller coaster ride, a manic pixie dream girl right beside me. And she said she liked me, but I bet it was a right thing lining up at the wrong time. And I think maybe if I'd held on tight, she'd still be sitting by my side. I'll never know, I'll never know. I don't like messing with regrets, but I doubt you'd ever leave my head. What could I have done, could I have said? I'll never know, I'll never know. I'll never know. We were nothing I like, and I kinda like that. Came from different sides of the crosstown tracks. Guess it's true sometimes opposites attract, but it never lasts. So maybe it was just the right thing lining up at the wrong time. And I think maybe if I'd held on tight, she'd still be sitting by my side. I'll never know, I'll never know. I don't like messing with regrets, but I doubt you'd ever leave my head. What could I inside money, but you like to drink cheap. Should've known the first moment you're out of my league, but you said you liked me. Oh, I bet it was a right thing running up at the wrong time. And I think maybe if I'd held on tight, she'd still be sitting by my side. I'll never know, I'll never know. I don't like messing with regrets, but I doubt you ever leave my head. What could I have done, could I have said? I'll never know, I'll never know. Oh, I'll never know, I'll never know. Oh, I'll never know, I'll never know. I can't get enough. No, I can't get enough. I'm falling in love. You're all I'm thinking of. Taking my time, messing my life, swear I don't mind. Say that you'll stay holding me close, swear it's alright. Baby, I feel the rush. Everything that you touch turns to gold. I know. Baby, I'm missing you. Everything that you do makes me love you. Oh. Tell me everything. You know I'm listening. Hours pass us by. Yeah, we could talk all night. Taking my time, messing my life, swear I don't mind.
All right, guys, cheers to the last night in Venice and the last night in Italy. All right, hello everyone. I am home. Home, sweet home. Back with my books. Happy to be here. It is windy. That just blew my door closed. I was really happy to sleep in my bed last night. I slept like a rock. Probably because I was awake for about 24 hours straight. So yesterday we left Venice. We woke up at 2 a.m. and at 3 o'clock we were picked up by a boat that acts as a shuttle to the airport. Then we had a flight to Frankfurt in Germany, and then we had a layover there for about 5 hours. Luckily, because we were flying international instead of flying from Frankfurt to Italy, we were flying from Frankfurt to Washington or US. We were in a newer part of the airport because when we were first there for a 4-hour layover from the US to Italy, we were in like an old part that had like rat traps. I'm not even joking, that had not been emptied, so it smelled like dead animals. But this time we were in the new, shiny, good smelling, had like restaurants and stuff part of the airport. So the 5 hours went by pretty quickly, and then we had I think it ended up being about 9 hours and 40 minutes flight back to the US. And I, of course, didn't sleep much during that time. I think I managed to sleep for like 1 hour on the plane, but the plane ride went pretty well. We were once again in the premium economy, so it has like the bigger seats and stuff. It's not like business or first class or anything, but it is one step up from economy. So I thought those seats were pretty comfortable. The meals were good and everything. And I had a pretty good flight and I had a pretty good trip. I think Venice was a great time. I am 90% sure that this is the end of a second vlog, to be honest. I think I'm gonna do Venice separately because I just feel like I took a lot of videos while I was here. So we'll see if that's what happens. Obviously, you will know because you will have either watched the first vlog or you are here finishing off a very long vlog that includes all the content. We'll see once I start the actual editing process and seeing what I have. But I had a wonderful time in Italy. Obviously, like with all traveling, there were stressful aspects of it. I mean, we were definitely ready to go home once we reached Venice, and there was a lot of walking in Venice and dealing with their public transportation. I think I got a pretty good grasp of how to use it and everything, but I'm still not really a public transportation girly, so it was a learning experience. But I'm definitely glad that we checked out Venice. She is definitely sinking, but hopefully she sticks around for a few more years, if not quite a few more years. There was a lot of construction and stuff going on, and I know that they are kind of building like levees kind of situations. They're doing what they can to keep her around, but I think she's definitely worth visiting. Would I stay on Venice like we did? I mean, I don't think it's necessary. I think it's definitely pretty easy to get there with all the public transportation that they have. And personally, I don't think you need to spend more than a day in Venice, and then maybe if you want to check out some of the surrounding islands. We went to Burano and Murano, which are known, Burano for the silk and lace. That one also has a ton of like super colorful houses. And then Murano, I think that island is not doing so well. We were pretty disappointed when we went there, but if you are interested in the glass making, which is pretty popular in Venice, it might be worth taking a little trip there, but I think we were left a little bit underwhelmed. I believe there is a college there, but I'm not sure if it's on Murano because we did not see the college. But if you go to Venice and you're interested in the glass making, I would go and check out the college because we have, let me actually look up the name of it real quick. The Venini factory / school situation training center. We have a very popular artist here in Washington called Chihuly, and he went to train there, and the people obviously in Murano were like, yeah, we know that place, but we unfortunately did not visit it. But I would suggest maybe checking it out. It might be the more interesting aspect of Murano than where we were. But other than that, Venice was really great, and the trip overall was a wonderful and mostly a relaxing experience. But let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the books that I read. I just wanted to go ahead and change something that I said about one of the books that I read, and that is Bro and the Beast, I believe it was called. Let me scoot over. So I had kind of said that I was not really interested in continuing this series at the time, but I've stepped back from it a little bit, and I have actually since then heard some people talking about it and how much they enjoy it and how funny it is, and I really did have a fun time with it. So I did decide to go ahead and add it to my series tracker, and while I probably won't pick it up for a while because it's a KU book and I only pick up KU, you know, every few months or so, I definitely can see myself continuing this series. We'll see how I feel about MPreg. I feel like I tried a couple more taboo romances this year. I read a Step Brothers, I read an actual brothers. I mean, they were half brothers, but still romance. So I figure I'm kind of expanding some of the tropes that are considered a little bit more taboo, a little bit more out on the outskirts of what most people are looking for. And so far I've had a pretty positive experience with it, so I don't want to just say, nah, MPreg isn't something that I'm interested in. One of the main reasons I'm not interested in MPreg is because I'm not interested in pregnancy, period. But I figure if I am going to experience it, kind of experiencing it in a humorous setting might be a good way to dip my toes into it. So I did want to go ahead and just mention that. I do also want to mention that this author, Elsie Davis, is that who the author is? And then the co-author, Joel Abernathy, both of them are trans authors. So if you're looking for any books by trans authors, this is one to check out, especially if you're into MPreg, I guess. All right, and then I did end up finishing The Whims of Gods, and I decided to go ahead and give this 4 stars. There were quite a few things that I enjoyed about this book. I'm trying to remember what I've already said about it, but here we go. I will say that the story did go a pretty predictable route. I kind of knew where it was gonna go from the beginning. Or not like the very beginning, but eventually I was like, oh, I know where this is going. And I'm not too mad about it because I had a good time with it. I really did have fun with the story. I enjoyed the characters. It is a more cozy kind of fantasy romance with monster romance elements. Despite being in a post-apocalyptic setting, obviously there are darker themes to it because it deals a lot with the slave trade, and our character Helios had experienced an abusive relationship in the past. But overall, I thought it was a very sweet romance, and it definitely had those Howl's Moving Castle, Beauty and the Beast vibes, and those are just 2 vibes that I really enjoy, so it worked for me. Do I wish there was more world building? Yes. Did I feel like the romance could have been fleshed out a little bit more? Definitely, but considering it was a little under 180 pages, I think the author did a pretty good job with the amount of pages they provided. The world is pretty interesting for me. We have this world where all these gods and monsters that we know from legends are just popping up, and they're here now. And humanity just kind of has to adapt to that. And there is a second book in this series which follows a character where I was like, are we gonna be following that character? And we are. It's gonna be an enemies to lovers romance, true enemies to lovers. In fact, these 2 characters literally tried to kill each other in this first book. So I do definitely want to go ahead and check that out and explore this world a little bit, but I'm glad I went ahead and checked it out. I will admit I was kind of hoping this was a 5 star, so it is slightly disappointing that it wasn't, but still, I think that considering I was on vacation, I enjoyed the lightheartedness of the story maybe more than I would have if I was just reading this on a day-to-day basis. While on the plane, I decided to go ahead and finish up my audiobook for I Got Abducted by Aliens, and now I'm stuck in a rom-com. I believe that's what it's called. This story unfortunately didn't quite work for me. I ended up giving it 3 stars. I think originally I was like, I'll give it 3.5, but after sitting with it a little bit more, I was like, no, I think I'm gonna drop it down to a 3, and I do not think that I will continue with this series. This is an author that I've read before. I read her kind of I Got Drunk and Saved a Demon trilogy, and I had a lot of fun with it, but this story and plot and world just didn't really work for me. It is more sci-fi. We have a woman who has been abducted and brought onto this planet for what is essentially a breeding program. This is a poly romance. It is between her and 2 alien men from, I would say they're essentially from rival clans. And while I had a pretty good time with this, there were a lot of times where I was laughing and enjoying myself, but there were other times where I just felt a little bit confused. I found I didn't love the plot of the story. I felt like the world was very strange in a way, but yet not built up and built out in such a way that I could really fall in love with the world. I also never felt like I truly connected to any of the characters. I would say the lion, the talking lion, was my favorite. Obviously, he's called Toto because our character is called Dory, like short for Dorothy, who goes to the Emerald City. But romance-wise, I just felt like there wasn't the strongest connection between our characters. The author really needed to spend more time fleshing out the relationship between these three. There is kind of this situation, like I said, that it's a breeding program where they are kind of injected with almost this serum that gets them all hot and horny, and I really felt like that was the reason that they were together and not because of any chemistry that they built through like communication or just going through things together. So I know that the author is probably going to write more in this world. I will say we met a character that I feel is going to be in one of the other books, and I was not interested in her. I didn't vibe with her at all. So while I definitely think I'm going to read Kimberly Lemming in the future, I'm just gonna sit out for this series. The final book that I finished for the fans! Yay! Over 500 pages. I ended up also giving this book 4 stars. Could this book have been a 5-star read if it had been maybe like 100 pages less, if not 150 pages less? Yes. Okay, I always hate when I'm reading a contemporary romance and I'm like, if you had just cut down on the story, it could have been a 5-star read, but it was just too long. That is the primary issue with this story, because when a story, especially a contemporary story, is too long, it usually means that we're having a lot of repetitive thoughts, a lot of repetitive conversations, and that our character, especially in the story Kieran, who is taking 1 step forward and 2 steps back kind of situation where he's like, okay, I'm looking at being in this relationship, it's scaring me, I'm gonna kind of run away from it. And yes, I understand him wanting to do that. He is looking to join the NFL, being in a queer relationship with his stepbrother. You know, it's not something that he's just gonna be like, yeah, sure, let's go ahead and do that, and there will be no consequences for that. So I understand that, you know, he had some difficulty, but it was just again and again and again. And so I think if the story had been a little bit more concise, it would have worked better for me. But I really did love their romance. I thought it was so sweet, especially Kieran. Oh my gosh, I grew to love this boy so much. In the beginning, I was like, what if I just strangle you? But towards the end, he was definitely my favorite character of the book. Absolutely love him. This is a rather hyped book when it comes to male romances, and I definitely see why it is. It does deal with difficult topics regarding, I don't really want to get spoilery, but I did make some guesses earlier in the vlog, which might have actually been in the other vlog if I end up splitting this in 2, talking about some things that I think could have happened in Kieran's past. And let's just say I was pretty close to being spot on, so that is unfortunate. So if there are certain triggers, I'm always talking about triggers is hard because you want to like tell people about it, but you understand that triggers can be spoilery. So if there are certain things that trigger you, make sure to check out trigger warnings before you pick up this book. But all in all, it was a really great read, just too long. And the ending, while I loved it, was definitely unrealistic. So, but if you want a happy ending for a male romance, especially where one is hoping to get into the NFL, you'll just have to accept the fact that it's going to be unrealistic because they are living in a less homophobic world than we are. Yay, lucky them. But that is what I finished reading. I did end up starting King of Hell by Morgan Dante, which is not a KU book. It is a book that I own on my Kindle, but it was rather short, so I was kind of hoping to finish it, but I didn't end up doing so. I want to say I'm about 40 something percent. I think I'm around the 80 page mark, and this book is 180 pages long, and so far I'm unfortunately not loving it. This is an author I have read before. I read their book, I forget what it was called, but it was kind of like a sapphic monster romance, and I had a good time with it. This book I think just needs more editing. There's definitely just like some basic errors in it, but I also feel like sometimes I'm reading it and I'm a little confused about like who's talking and wait, are we talking about something else now? Or sometimes I feel like a conversation is broken up to kind of like discuss something else and then we come back, and so I just feel like the book feels a little bit messy right now, and so I'm kind of struggling with it. Of course, I was reading it after not sleeping for 23 hours at that point. That could have definitely played into it. I'm also not connecting to the characters as much as I was hoping to. This book essentially is following a vampire. He was killed by the husband of his sire. So essentially he was sired by a vampire, and this vampire kind of abandoned him. And then when our character tried to go to him, this vampire's husband killed him, and then he went to hell. And he's been in hell for about 30 years now, and he works for, I want to say, I can't remember his name, but he is the king of traitors, I believe. And our character has always been like, I don't know why I'm in this court. I didn't betray anyone. Okay, in fact, I was betrayed. And one of his biggest goals is to get revenge on his ex-lover. And he is someone who works for the king in the capacity where he will like wash his hair and change his clothing, you know, basic servant stuff. And the king seems to have kind of an interest in our vampire, but he also acknowledges that he's not going to make the first move or anything because of the power dynamics, something I appreciate. But he does ask his vampire, like, what do you want? You know, I'm kind of bored. Like, what do you want? Let's do something. And our vampire was like, I want to kill my ex. And the king of hell is like, yeah, let's go. And so they head up to the human world, which is currently going through essentially the zombie apocalypse. And they are going to try and find his ex and kill him and his husband. And so that really sounded like something I would enjoy. Our vampire is also a trans character. I usually enjoy books with trans characters, but this story, I think it's just not grasping me, and the writing isn't 100% working for me. The characters aren't working for me. So, I mean, I still have about 100 pages left. There's still plenty of things that could happen throughout the story that could get me to enjoy it, but right now it's sitting at a relatively low 3-star, which, considering I was really excited about this book and once again thought it might be a 5-star read, you might see this on my most disappointing books of the year if things continue at this trajectory. So bummer. But that being said, those are the books. Obviously I understand if you want to skedoodle from this video now, but I do want to go through some of the souvenirs that I got here on my trip. So let's go ahead and look at those. So while we were in our place in Tuscany, my mom really wanted to go and look at some Italian ceramics, and not like the stuff that you see in the souvenir shops, which I'm pretty sure like 90% of the shops in most Italian cities, at least like the more touristy ones, are tour shops, and it's like, wow. But we ended up just like a 5-minute drive from our place, had this woman who was making ceramics. She was older, so she was no longer selling at like markets because she just couldn't transport the goods anymore. And so she and her daughter-in-law kind of have a small vineyard where they do wine tasting, but also she sells her ceramics. And we ended up going there, and I ended up getting this gorgeous vase. I don't know if the colors will really come through. This was very different than some of the other stuff she has there when it comes to colors. It's not usually the kind of colors that I gravitate towards, especially when it comes to like things I put in my room, but it just really stood out amongst everything else, and it reminded me a lot of kind of like the inside of a shell. So I decided to go ahead and grab this bad boy, and I'll just have to like, I don't know where to put it, but I will put it somewhere. All right, this piece I also got in the Chianti area. Now I'm trying to think, I want to say it was Sienna, but I'm not 100% sure. And it's just like a little piece of like stone, flat stone that this woman painted on, and she was there like doing the paintings and everything, and I just thought it was cute and small and had some of the Tuscany scenery with the sunflowers, and you know, they have those tall little trees. The sunset in Tuscany is out of this world. Every single night you will be starstruck by the sunset, so I definitely had to get one that displayed that sunset. Up next, I believe this is the only thing that I got in Florence. It is just like a little teeny tiny bowl, once again with the sunflowers on it. Maybe I didn't get it in Florence, I can't even remember at this point, but it's just like a little tiny bowl. And then I also got a thimble, so let me see if I can kind of show it all. Ta-da! And it says Castellina and Chianti, so that is where I bought this little guy. Then I got a few things in Burano, starting with a bookmark that is obviously made out of their well-known lace, and it has the Venetian masks on it, and it also says Venezia on it. So I'm not a huge lace person, so that's why the bookmark attracted me, because I'm not gonna wear like a handkerchief or anything like that. Sorry if I sound stuffy, my allergies, you know, when I was in Italy I was like, are my allergies gonna be okay? They weren't terrible, but they definitely weren't better, so I'm just sounding like a snuffleupagus. So then I got something super teeny tiny little kitty cat. Let me see how I can do this. So kitty cat and mouse. Can you see mouse? How do I do this, guys? How are we gonna do this? So I kind of got it like this, so it could be kind of like the cat chasing the mouse. So that is gonna be sitting right here, and hopefully it doesn't get lost, because once that gets lost, it is gone forever. Then we stumbled across a glass artist whose work really stood out to us. It was very different than what we were seeing anywhere else, and I bought 2 necklaces from him. I was kind of looking for kind of more choker-like necklaces for a while, and so I got these 2 with these really stunning pearl kind of situation, or like shape wise they're like a pearl. They're obviously not made out of pearl or anything. And this one, I don't really think the color is coming through, and it also depends on the lighting, but this red one glows. She's glowing, so I am really excited to have these 2. Second to last thing, my sister got me this necklace. If I can get it, there we go. It is obviously a cat with some flowers on it. If you remember, I had that little gold necklace with like the blue eyes on it, and it broke. You probably saw that because I think it happened on camera. I was walking around with a dress that kind of like came off the shoulders, and so this whole area was bare, and my sister was like, I'm gonna give you your birthday gift early because this really works with it. And so she ended up giving me this early, and I wore it a couple times on our trip, and it is so cute and so me, so that was really exciting. I have one final thing that I just need to get out of. I need to figure out what to do with my thinner necklaces, because I keep them in this box because I kind of want to make sure that they don't tarnish or anything, but then I never wear them because they're in this box and I forget about them. But I, of course, had to get the classic Venetian glass style necklace. and I wanted to get black and white. This was called the 1,000 Flower style, and it has another name for it, which my mom keeps reminding me of. Fiori art, or you know, the Fiori style of glass art. That is what this is called. Usually they look a little bit more like a little flowers, but this one I thought was really funky, and I knew the black and white would just kind of match with more things, so that's why I went ahead and grab that. So those are all the things I bought. There's a couple extra things, but those are things I'm giving to other people. So I am really happy with my purchases. Very happy that they were mostly small, so it was no trouble to transport things back to America. But that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching this vlog, watching both vlogs, watching this one vlog. I don't know. Let me know if you guys have ever been to Italy. If you have, what did you think about it? If you haven't, do you ever want to go? And if so, which parts of Italy are you interested in? As always, guys, thank you so much for supporting my channel by watching my videos, and I hope to see you soon. Bye!